Hi, I'm Andrea Palmer. I was 25 when I was diagnosed with sarcoma in my right hand, and I'm currently 33. I'm willing to speak about my cancer experience for a few different reasons. The first being when I was a young cancer patient, there was not a lot of information for me, be it books or websites or anything like that, or anyone to talk to who had actually gone through the same thing that I was going through and who had lived through metastatic cancer. The second reason I'm willing to speak about it is, as a survivor, I feel a sense of responsibility to give back to other people facing the same journey and hope to help them by giving inspiration when they hear my story. When I was initially diagnosed with sarcoma in my right hand at the age of 25, I had one surgery to remove the tumor before they knew what it was, and once they determined that it was in fact a cancer, I then had radiation treatment on my hand and was just followed up with chest x-rays. About a year and 3 months later, I suffered a recurrence in my right armpit as well as my lungs, and I had another surgery on my armpit to remove the tumor and all the lymph nodes there, and also had 5 months of chemotherapy treatments to assist with treating the tumors in my lungs. I was scheduled for a thoracic surgery on my chest, and thankfully that was canceled due to the treatment being successful. It wasn't necessarily important to me what type of cancer other people had when searching for hope and inspiration and some story that I could live through this. My greatest inspiration was Lance Armstrong, and obviously with him having testicular cancer, it was quite different than myself. What I was really looking for was someone who had survived metastatic cancer, because that is so rare, and I just needed to hear of someone living and surviving and searching for that commonality, not necessarily what type of cancer it was. So I was fortunate to never really feel pressure or allow any of the physical kind of symptoms of cancer, be it losing my hair or surgery or anything like that, impact me psychologically. To me, losing my hair and those kind of external appearance issues were the least of my worries. So it really didn't play a role at all in how I felt going through that. And as far as I can tell, it didn't really impact my husband, my boyfriend at the time. He never gave any indication that he thought of me any differently or anything like that. He was very supportive through the whole thing, and I'm really glad that that didn't play a role in how I was dealing with it, because I had enough to worry about in terms of healing myself and surviving to not worry about something like losing my hair. As a result of my first surgery, I was left with quite a distinct scar. Oftentimes people think I'm missing a finger, when in fact I'm not. One of my doctors even thought that I was missing a finger. What happened was my tumor was between my fingers, and so they cut out all the tissue between those and took a graft from my forearm to fill in that spot. As a result, I don't have the muscle attachments left to pull my two fingers back together, which is why it looks like a big space. The only time it really impacts me, and it was kind of funny, was the first time someone handed me change, and I stuck my hand out to get it, and it all fell through the hole in my fingers, and I had a nice little chuckle to myself, and I don't think the cashier even really noticed. The fact that my hand looks differently now doesn't bother me at all. It never really did. I had my hand surgeon offer to go back and redo the surgery and try and remove some of the extra skin and make it look a little bit more normal. My thought was, it's never going to look normal. I'm lucky to have all my fingers and lucky that my hand is still functional, and so why mess with anything? I'm quite happy with the way things turned out, and just happy to have my fingers and have a hand that works, so the physical appearance does not impact me. When I was diagnosed, I had been raised Catholic, but as a teenager pulled away because I couldn't be bothered with church or religion or anything like that. And even the first time I was diagnosed, I started to pray a little bit, but not really until I had my recurrence and really thought I was going to die. And when that happened, I started turning everything and anything that could possibly have an impact and save me, including religion. There were a few different, what most people would call coincidences, but I don't believe that they were, happened to me after my recurrence and helped me deal with the situation and find solace and faith and hope and prayer. My mom and I were walking in Toronto, just out from the hospital, taking a little stroll, and went to a church supply store, and I was looking at prayer cards, and the woman in the store looked at me and said that the patron saint of cancer was Saint Peregrine. And my mom and I just looked at each other in disbelief, because we hadn't spoken to each other or to the woman in the store, so how she would know that I had cancer, because at this point I still had all my hair, I looked quite normal, was a little bit shocking. I also had a woman come and pray over me, do a laying of the hands just before starting chemo. The doctors had told me that chemo most likely wouldn't work, that there was only a 30% chance that it would, and by work they just meant stop the tumor from growing. They did not mean shrink or disappear or anything like that. At very best, it would just stop growing. So this woman came and did the laying of the hands and prayed that I would not have chest surgery. And I figured in my head, well, pray for whatever you want, we'll see what happens. I didn't really hold a lot of faith in what she was saying, but I figured I would try anything. I went for my first round of chemo, and when I came back for the 3 weeks to rest and recover, I ended up with neutropenia. With no immune system, I ended up with an infection and ended up back in the hospital for a week with a severe fever. During my hospital stay, I had a vision in the middle of the night. My mom was actually sleeping in a chair in the corner, and I could see this glow at the end of my bed from what looked like a person, and the glow was kind of a light behind a halo. And this person, who I believe was Jesus, came and placed his hands on all of the areas of my body that had cancer, my hand, my chest, my armpit, and just placed his hands on me and removed all the negativity from me. And when I went back to Toronto a few weeks later for my follow-up and my second round of chemo, they did a chest x-ray just to see if any progress had been made. And the doctor was quite shocked to see that, or to not see a tumor on my film. And in fact, the shadow was gone. So that was pretty impactful to me. Again, they told me that I would still be having chest surgery regardless of what happened. And when I went for my pre-surgery appointment, I had my thoracic surgery booked for October 21st. I went a few weeks before, following my last cycle of chemo, and the thoracic surgeon put up the results of the CT, and again, the tumor was all but gone. There was this tiny little speck of scar tissue, and he told me that he would not be doing surgery on me because there was nothing left to remove. I was still pretty apprehensive and scared that I was not having surgery, not that I wanted it, but I just wanted it gone. And he told me that this was a great position for me to be in, and we would just have to wait and see what would happen if it came back or not. So I spent 5 years worrying about that, and here I am 6 years later, never had chest surgery, never had a recurrence to date, and quite happy to be alive.